What will you create will make the world awesome? Nothing if you keep sitting there. That's why I'm talking to you today. This is your time. This is my time. It's our time. We can make every day better for each other. If we're all on the same team, let's start acting like it. We got work to do. We can cry about it, or we can dance about it. We were made to be awesome.
So hey guys, welcome to the OFJ Podcast, episode 8. I'm here with Emily Caruso. I've known Emily for a while. We met a while back, and then we kind of just knew each other but didn't really talk for a bit. And then I think
it's like sad, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think
it was like Sneaky Days, wasn't it?
Nah, after that it was.
Was it? Okay.
Sets.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Yeah, it was sets, and that's when I met you, Abby.
That's right.
And a few of the other girls. But yeah. So I wanted to get Emily on because she's one of those people that are really interesting.
No pressure.
Nah, but like if you go on an Instagram page, what's your handle?
Story behind that, but
yep.
_EMC squared. Because someone had MC squared already. That's 2.
And that's the is it Einstein or something?
Yes.
Yeah,
like E equals MC squared. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, like on Instagram, she shares a lot of positivity and like mindfulness and stuff, and a lot of the posts that she has are quite raw and personal, and like you could say intimate maybe. So I just wanted to get her on to talk about that, and then I guess how she came about just being so real with the world, I guess, and go from there. So do you want to start wherever you feel comfortable?
Sure. Where to start on all that?
So like, how were you in your younger years? So like, say after high school or whatever, were you a shy person or?
No, I don't think I've ever been a shy person.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that I'm fully extroverted. I think it's ambivert, where you're a mixture of intro and extro. So I'm definitely an ambivert, but I've always been this, social butterfly.
Yeah.
I've always been a people person. I love talking to people, and I find people so interesting, and I always have. But getting back to being real and raw and vulnerable, that didn't come until maybe
vulnerable is a key word there.
Yeah, hard out, but that didn't come until maybe a few years ago, to be honest. All through high school and even just out of high school, I was fully playing into societal norms and the pressures of living in a Western society and the expectations that puts on us as individuals and as groups of people as well, and these stereotypes and what I felt was the right thing to be doing, or the cool thing to be doing.
Yeah. So what's an example of that?
In terms of how I used to be? Yeah, no,
like one of the expectations.
Oh, right. Well, I guess talking about vulnerability, I feel like there's a lot of taboo around that. Maybe not as much these days, but when I was younger, there was a lot of taboo about speaking your truth and being vulnerable. Like it was a weakness to be vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
We would hide that. And I think, to be honest, more so with men, but with women as well, like I felt like we were just these sexual beings, and everything was sexualized when I was in high school and just out of high school as well. And I felt like I had to kind of live up to that. Like I was pretty comfortable with who I was. I've done a lot of growth since then, but I felt like those pressures of kind of living up to this sexual stereotype as a woman, I felt like I had to play into that.
Yeah.
So
do you mean like looking good? And this
image. Yeah. So looking a certain way, dressing a certain way, even the way that I would act or speak around people.
Yeah.
You know, like I felt like I had to put on this kind of facade.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting as well because at the time I probably didn't really think that through because it was like I was almost like on autopilot. Because I was like
in motion.
Yeah, like that was just ingrained in me because through magazines that I was reading or TV or reality TV shows and movies, like all this stuff was so toxic, but I didn't realize at the time. And it kind of morphed me into
someone you weren't.
Yeah.
So then how did you come about realizing, or how did you start changing?
I wish I could say that I had this kind of, you know, epiphany one day.
Just woke up one morning.
I wish I had some cool thing to share there. But I really didn't. I think I really just grew into it. I think I just became more observant of the people around me and my environment.
Yeah,
and
so it wasn't overnight.
No. And I think I just started thinking about the way that I acted and spoke and all of that, the things that I wore, the way that I like gave my body sometimes because I was like quite sexually active. Yeah. And that all kind of got brought up and I stopped and kind of thought about all of that and why I was really doing that. Yeah. Even like my hair. So that like that's a big thing in itself because my hair used to be long and I used to straighten it all the time. Yeah. That was a big part of, I thought that's who I was, like this girl with a long straight hair that everybody loved and they comment on it. And I was like, I don't want people seeing this crazy wild curly hair. You know, so it was a gradual thing and it was like realizing something else, and then from that I realized something else and then something else, and then I'd, you know, see a magazine with this cover on it and be like, hang on, what? Like, I don't want to look like that, or why are they wanting to teach women about that? Or, you know, I just started asking more questions. And the more that I questioned things, the more that I think I kind of woke up to the fact that I was really like living my own lie. So it was super gradual. And
so now how do you see yourself? Just yourself, really? Or do you still feel like there are certain pressures still on you or expectations?
Yeah, I think it would be ignorant of me to say that I am 100% purely authentically living, you know, in my truth and exactly who I am, because I'm still figuring that out.
Still growing, still there.
Yeah, so, but I think it's also really important to acknowledge how far I've come and how much more real I feel, not just internally within myself, but then the way that I express myself to and with other people. So I feel, and it's so refreshing to feel like you're actually living more within your own truth.
It's like a sense of freedom.
Oh my gosh, like liberation. Oh, what a word. And for a long time, I don't think I really even used the word liberation up until, you know, like 3 years ago.
Yeah, the last time would have been like history class in high school or something. So I guess like posting on Instagram, like your thoughts, your feelings and stuff, how did that first start? So social media in general, I was pretty late to the game. So when Facebook became a thing, I think I got on board with MySpace real quick, but when Facebook became a thing, I didn't get it until like a year or so later. And when Instagram became a thing, I didn't get it until like a year or so, like after the first hype, the first wave of excitement, you know. So I was pretty late to the socials game.
And I remember with Instagram, the very first post that I put up, and people were talking about like hashtags and things. I was like, man, what are these hashtags? I don't think I've ever used that symbol before for anything. And I remember the first photo I put up, I remember what it is, and I remember one of my hashtags, because everyone said you needed to hashtag your post. And I remember the hashtag being hashtag it feels weird hashtagging. That was my hashtag. I was like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to hashtag, so this is what I'm hashtagging. So from the start, I think a lot of people picked up on it really quickly and started adding all these hashtags and words in. But from the start, I was like, man, this is weird. Like, I feel weird doing this just because people tell me this is what I need to be doing. But I kind of like got into a flow with it, and, you know, I suppose got into a bit of a groove, and I was just posting photos that I liked of myself, and I wouldn't really put too many captions, but I kind of got the gist of the hashtag thing, even though it still felt a bit weird. Anyway, so I kind of went through that phase, and then I think as I started kind of questioning things more, like within myself and who I am and my own personal growth, and expressing my vulnerability, I started to feel like it didn't really align with how I was expressing myself on a social platform. Not that what I was sharing was a lie, but it wasn't really showing who I truly was, and it was like I was only putting up
what you want other people to see.
And I get that, like, and that's what most a lot of people's accounts do. People's accounts are like their posts, like it's just what they want people to see, and I fully get that. But yeah, just something just didn't feel right. So I think I used to post like almost every day, because again, that was what you were meant to do. But that got exhausting. I was like, man, like, you know, I think also there was this struggle with like, okay, I want to post some really cool photos of myself, but not every photo of myself did I feel comfortable with, because I was still on that journey of feeling good about myself. So then there was the pressure of kind of keeping up with sharing things, as well as making sure that they looked good. And there was all this conflict going on. So then I kind of like eased off a little bit. And I think, again, that was a gradual thing. It wasn't like an overnight, like, no, like, F this, now I'm just going to put up like fully like raw, vulnerable posts, you know? It was like, okay, well, this post, maybe my hair doesn't look so good in this post, or, you know, whatever, like whatever it was, there was a few flaws in it, but I was like, okay, it's cool though, like it's a nice photo. So I kind of started from there. Just in terms of like the visual aspect, and then in terms of bringing I suppose the captions into it, and kind of expressing myself through the words and not just the image. I think the deeper I got into my own journey of love and of understanding of myself, I think I wanted to express that more, because it was a really good feeling. I was like, man, this feels great. Like, so every time I would post something, I would think, okay, let me bring some of that goodness into this and share it with people, and kind of share something that maybe a lot of accounts that I wasn't following at the time aren't sharing.
So when you share posts like that, are you doing it as a form of expressing yourself, or are you doing it in a way to sort of encourage other people to do the same?
Well, both, I think. I don't think my first intentions behind sharing a lot of my vulnerabilities were to be like, okay, I'm going to do this so you can do this too. You know, that I think that kind of, that came...
It's just a bonus.
Yeah, I suppose. It was just because I really felt so much more aligned with sharing something that was deeper than just a perfect photo of highlighting just, what word am I trying to think of here? I guess just highlighting the good and the positives, and I'm trying to think like what I'm trying to say here. But I suppose like a lot of accounts I was following were only showing what was deemed as perfect, you know, whether it's through filters or editing or they were just having a good day, it was good lighting or whatever it is, but that's all that they were showing, and I wanted to show more than that. Because there just wasn't enough of that. Even with the accounts I was following, there just wasn't enough of that. So it was for me, I didn't post as often, and even now I hardly post, but for me it was for myself. And if other people saw that and read that and were like, damn, like, you know what, maybe I'll post something that I'm not fully comfortable with, but it's something that I feel is important to share because it's part of my own personal journey, then hell yeah, that's an amazing bonus.
Your page kind of becomes like your own journal.
Yeah, I was literally thinking that when your page becomes, I was like my journal. It literally is. And I really feel that a lot more these days.
Do you feel like that has sort of attracted the right people towards you? Like people that are like same wavelength? Yeah, for sure. And not just people that are, you know, perhaps more like-minded, but also people that are just open-minded. Or are making people kind of question what they're sharing, and perhaps they can share something that's a little bit more vulnerable, or just kind of explore that. So I've had a few conversations with people online based off some of the posts and things that I've shared, and they haven't been people that I would necessarily go out and hang out with, but we've had some beautiful conversations from what I've shared, and then they've shared something that they've that they can connect with through what I've shared, like they've resonated with that, and then it's kind of just flowed from there. So we've had some pretty cool conversations with people, randoms as well, and I kind of love that. It's amazing. I get random messages. It's cool having the people you know message you, but it's the random ones that you're like, what I found most like surprising was that when I started posting, there was people that I've been following for quite some time, and people that I've known for quite some time, but just never really spoke to each other, that I realized they are kind of like on the same page as me as well. And I'm like, fuck, like, why aren't we friends?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, we're following each other, but we should talk more often, you know?
Hell yes.
So
it really, something like that can really just bring out these traits in people that they didn't realize and you didn't realize that they had, and vice versa with them, you know? Like, there's probably been people that have seen my posts and been like, or they're probably used to it now, but you know, when I first started sharing things and got a little bit deeper, they would be like, this isn't the M that I know, like, what the hell? And for better or for worse, and you know, on their end. But it can bring out a lot from people in all different ways. But I fully agree with that.
How do you, what's the word I'm looking for? So like, now I know you as a person that's like environmentally friendly, so you're a vegan, and the environment is like, it's not something, I'll be honest, it's not something that I've taken major interest in, you know? And for you, like, I see you when you make posts, I think you were on a trip away, I don't know if it was down south or north or whatever, but you were picking up rubbish from the beaches and stuff. But like stuff like that, it's not something I'd take notice of. But then for you, it's something that you obviously take a lot of pride in. So how did that start? You know, was it like something your family kind of passed on to you, or was it something you just learnt yourself out of like self-learning, self-educating, or your own self-experiences and stuff?
Again, with this, like, I wish people I've met on this kind of journey, some of them have like incredible stories of like, oh yeah, like my grandparents were raised in, you know, Papua New Guinea or in different villages, or they were part of this movement, you know, like all these things. I'm like, oh my god, that's amazing. I don't have anything like that, and sometimes I think like how did this really come about to get to a point where I love this planet so much? Like, but when I was younger, I guess part of it potentially could have stemmed from when I was really young, because I was always playing outdoors and I really appreciated everything outdoors, like down to the insects. You know, I would sit there in fascination with these insects. Ants, like, oh my gosh, ants. If you've never sat down and just sat like in the grass and seen ants, do it. It's amazing. So anyway, when I was sidetracked, but when I was little, I'd have these fascinations with the earth and getting dirty, but I think a lot of kids did then, because we didn't really have that much exposure to technology. It wasn't as developed then. So so I think like that the simple pleasure of being out in nature, I've always felt that from when I was little. And my parents really tried to expose me to that, which I'm super grateful for. But then I went through my phase, particularly my teenage years, where I kind of gave in to, you know, these societal pressures of, you know, acting a certain way, being a certain way, and too cool for any of that. And like all of that. And I kind of lost that connection and love to nature. And then I think through my journey of starting to ask myself questions of who I was and who I wanted to be and how I wanted to portray myself and live authentically, I think I started to probably question my environment and how I was treating my environment.
Yeah. What role do you play?
Yeah, because it all, I think for me, it's all interconnected.
Yeah.
I think when you start caring more about yourself and finding that love within yourself, to live in your truth, you then feel compelled to kind of share that with things around you. So I think through that journey, I started making that connection to nature, and I heard about I suppose you'd say a movement called Plastic Free July, actually, in 2017, when I was really starting to think about my actions and, you know, how much plastic I was using and where things go once you put them in the bin and all of this stuff. And Plastic Free July is this campaign that was founded by this incredible woman, Rebecca Prince-Ruiz, I think you pronounce her name. She founded it in 2011, and she just started it herself because she wanted to cut back on the amount of plastic she was using, and it was just with her office staff, and then it's grown to millions of people worldwide getting involved in it. So that was kind of my first big step to really kind of changing my actions and transforming them from a thought to an action. Because awareness and thought is the first step and the most important, but nothing else is going to happen if you don't turn it into an action. So I did this thing for the whole of July. I didn't use any single-use plastics. And
how'd that go?
It was great. And July is also, my birthday's in July, and I was like, this is my birthday present to myself. It's like no plastic. And I learned so much through my own research and also what was shared through the movement. You can sign up and they'll send you emails and information and stuff and support. And that kind of encouraged me to delve even further into what else I can be doing to reduce my carbon footprint and my impact on the environment. So plastic is something that I think a lot of people are aware of now. There's a lot of talk about it, and, you know, from businesses to individuals to cutting back on plastic or, you know, finding alternatives, and that's incredible. But there's so many other avenues there. And that just kind of, it snowballed from there. Like after experiencing that, I was like, okay, what can I do now? What can I do now? And through that led me, you mentioned like me being vegan, so that led me to look into the food that I'm eating and discover the impact particular foods have on the environment. So it's like there's there's so much more to learn about it, but that was kind of where it started. And you haven't looked back since. And I have not looked back since. Like, Yeah, it's so crazy. It feels like it's been longer than 3 years. Not quite 3 years. 3 years in July this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has it just become like a part of you now?
Yeah. I think as well, like getting back out into nature as well. It's one thing to not use plastic straws in your house, you know, that's great, that's awesome, but it's another thing to fully understand why it's important, like not to or to avoid that, rather than just doing it. So getting back out into nature, whether it's going to, like, we're driving past the beach right now, like going into the water, and especially like when I went up north around Coral Bay and the Ningaloo Reef, oh my gosh, you know, and seeing the abundance of fish and just marine life, and then that kind of puts things in perspective, because you see these photos of these beautiful creatures that have been impacted by plastic waste. So you make that connection. Going out into nature, you see firsthand how that can have an impact. You know, if you go out camping, or if you go into the forest and you might see like cigarette butts on the floor, like all these things, you can actually see directly how it's impacting our environment. And through going out into nature and reconnecting with nature, I've just felt so much more drawn to continue doing this. And if people want me to, and sharing this as well, like I try not to, as you can tell, I can get carried away with it, but I try not to like bring it up unless people ask about it, because
I'm sure you've had people hit you up and was like, let me join, like how do I become a part of this movement?
Yeah, I suppose like with Plastic Free July, or just in general just loving the planet. I've had all sorts of questions, I think, and some of which, like, I'm not a professional in this field, and I think, like, I have to remind people, like, I do my own research, but at the end of the day, I don't want people kind of like taking my word for things. I mean, I'm so passionate about the environment and the planet, and treading lightly on this planet and loving everything, but that's just my personal feeling, and my I guess my ethos, like how I choose to live, and I'm not wanting to push that on others. However, I would love to talk about it if people want to, because I think it's important that we are aware of this. So yeah, I've had lots of questions from different people. Someone actually asked me the other day for an alternative to cling wrap.
Is there an alternative?
So there, I mean, I guess it depends what you're using it for, but you can use wax wraps, whether you choose to use beeswax, or if you are vegan and prefer not to, you can use vegan wax wraps for just storing stuff. Otherwise, you can put stuff in containers, or there's these silicone sheets that you can also use as like baking sheets, because they can withstand high heat, and they're like kind of sticky as well, so you can stick them over bowls and stuff. So there's a sidetrack, but there you go. Yeah, so people do ask me stuff, but you can tell, like, I can just talk about this for so long.
That's cool. It's good to see that you have something that you're passionate about. I've been meaning to ask you this, and I hope you don't care that I ask you here, but
go right ahead. I don't really hold back on anything.
Sleeping outdoors.
Oh, yes.
What's the story behind that?
Why would I mind you asking me that? Ask away.
You sleep in your backyard?
Yes, that's not like every night. If anyone's watching this and like, what? Not every night.
Is there particular nights where you do it?
Not necessarily. I think it's just when I feel like I've disconnected a bit, or whether I've been on.
So what do you mean when you feel disconnected? Disconnected
to nature, to the earth. I guess
just getting stuck in emotion again.
Yeah. Like if things get overwhelming at work, or I've been on social media too much and I've been sidetracked, and I've just got like all of this information I've just absorbed, and you know, both negative and positive energy just kind of like I feel a lot as well, being an empath. Like, I feel so much from people and my surroundings, so sometimes it gets really like intense. So I feel like I'll choose, okay, like things have been pretty hectic, pretty crazy. I need to kind of reground and reconnect. And I feel like for me personally, there's no greater way to do that than to literally sleep amongst the trees. Like, it's so great.
So do you sleep in a tent or just like a sleeping bag?
No, I sleep, I've got like my little yoga mat.
Yeah.
So I'll put that out, and then I have my sleeping bag. So I just put my sleeping bag on top of the yoga mat, just so I don't get any like sticks that come through and like poke me. And a pillow, and I just like lay
so you
there.
don't even sleep in the sleeping bag?
No, I sleep in the sleeping bag. But sometimes I don't like fully zip it up. It depends. Like, I started doing it, like I've done it a couple times last year, but I didn't really start really doing it till the start of this year.
Yeah.
And obviously the start of the year was summer, so it was really warm. And then we had some beautiful nights where I hardly even needed to be in the sleeping bag. So I kind of just, and I feel like if you can, like, that's so much better, because then you're like, your skin, your body is fully open and like ready to absorb the energy of the earth as well as the sky, the atmosphere, like everything, you know. And especially if it's like a full moon or even a new moon, like that's pretty epic. But when it gets a bit colder, then I have to like ruck up a bit more and like snuggle into the sleeping bag.
Definitely. And then how do you feel the next morning?
Oh my gosh. It's so good. I bring my journal out, and usually I'll journal in the morning. And it's really interesting to read back on just how I was wording things the morning after sleeping outside. Like, I was like ecstatic. Yeah. Just the words that I used, the vocabulary that I had, and just the way I explained things and my feelings at the time. It's like, just thinking about it like makes me smile, because it's so beautiful to see how clearly that has such a positive impact on me. Yeah. And if anyone has even a small backyard, I strongly recommend that you do it. It's also because obviously the ground itself is technically quite hard, especially in comparison to a bed. But they say that it's actually really good for us, maybe not necessarily every night, but at least once in a while, to lay on a flat, relatively hard surface to realign our spine. So the first couple of times I did it, it was a bit like, oh, okay. But then it was fine. I think like doing a lot of movement and yoga helps as well, but and stretching in the morning. But yeah, so good. Have you done it?
I haven't done it, but I'll chuck it on the list.
Chuck it on the list. I was so close to doing it last night, actually. Yeah. But I got right. And then I could share it. No. Yeah. But I got really carried away listening to some really interesting talks, and then it got really late. And I try and go, if I'm going to sleep outside, I try and do it quite early. Because then I wake up with the sun. So I got a bit carried away. So maybe tonight.
What was I going to ask? Oh, so you know how you were saying you write in a journal?
Yes.
So do you write in a journal and then kind of close the book and never look back at it, or do you read over it?
I don't like intentionally write thinking, okay, this would be good to like refer back to. So in the moment, like, definitely not. And then even afterwards, I don't think, you know what, maybe I'll read back on that later. I think sometimes it's just kind of like going with if I'm called to read back on it, you know, like I feel there might be a time maybe 10 years from now and I'll look back and be like, oh my gosh. But I don't write with the intention to refer back to it, and I don't go out of my way to say like, okay, I definitely need to see what I wrote last night. It's more like if I feel at the time like there was something that I remember kind of sharing in there and I wanted to, I don't know, like look back as like a reference, or just I don't know. I don't have the intention to look back. Sometimes I've read some stuff and sometimes I just leave it, because at the time maybe especially if I was going through something really kind of deep or pretty dark, then I would just express anything and everything. And I haven't yet felt like I need to read back on that, because that wasn't my reason behind writing it. I don't know. In saying that, when the year I turned 21, my dad actually got me a gratitude journal, which was like, it was just set up that each page had like 3 lines for you to write three things you're grateful for, and there was space to like write random other stuff.
Every day?
Well, I guess you kind of just choose like when you want to fill it out, but that's how I interpreted it. So I filled out the first one, decided when I got it, it was literally because he got it for me for Christmas the year before, actually, not for my birthday. My mistake. So I decided I was going to start it on Jan the 1st of that year. And I decided I was going to do it daily, so I'd write about my day, and then at the bottom with the 3 lines, I'd write 3 things I'm grateful for. And then when I filled up that, I'd go out and buy another one. And I did that for that whole year, the year of turning 21, and I made it a point to write 3 different things every single day for that whole year.
God damn. I was just about to say that. I was like, man, how do you not say the same things?
But you know what? It's really interesting. So, and I've kept them. So back to your previous, like your original question about like looking back on stuff. So I've kept them, and there've been times where I pull them out and like I'll just open up a page and just read it, just because it's been so much time. So it's really interesting to see what I was grateful for, what I did that day, and how I would kind of write as well, as opposed to now.
Do you react differently to what you've read?
Sometimes some of the stuff I'm like, I can totally relate to that, and some of it I'm like, what? But in terms of like writing 3 things you're grateful for, 3 different things you're grateful for each day for every day of 1 year, it sounds so crazy, right? But when you think about it, oh my gosh, like there's so much we have to be grateful for. And generally speaking, we live our daily life without really thinking about a lot of these things, because we live in a privileged world where we have a lot of access to all of this stuff almost automatically. So we take things for granted, whether we mean to or not. A lot of the time we don't mean to, but we take them for granted until we're faced with a situation where that might be removed or we need to confront it. So when I was writing in the gratitude journals, sometimes I would sit in my room and be like, okay, like what am I grateful for today? Like writing about the day helped, because that would prompt it. But sometimes if I'd had like an absolute like terrible, I was about to swear, I don't know if I can swear, but anyway, a really terrible day, and I'd be like, there's nothing I'm grateful for. Like I'd have a moment, and remember I was 21 as well, so I'd have a moment, still finding myself. I still am, but you know, and then I would sit and take some deep breaths and look at myself and be like, you know what, I'm grateful I have fingers to be able to write in a gratitude journal. You know, I'm grateful that I can easily access stationery like a pen to write. I'm grateful that I am capable of being able to cry and express myself. You know, like all these things that I would never have thought I'm grateful for. Like why would I be grateful for crying? But you know, there's people that cannot physically do that, or they aren't able to emotionally express themselves. So anything, like, it's so crazy. And when you start unlocking that, it just opens you up to so much, and you see things so differently.
I was listening to a podcast last year, I forgot who the guy was, like Sadhguru or something. Have you heard of him?
Who?
It's like an Indian guru. I forgot his name. Anyways, there was this guy that was reaching out to him that wanted help or whatever, trying to, I guess, find his purpose. And then the guru was like to him, here's a piece of paper, write down three or four things that you like. And
that you like?
That you like, yeah. And then, or like a hobby. And then, he grabbed the pen and he was like, the first thing is like, I don't know what to write. And then the guru was like to him, man, look, like this world of like endless opportunities and you can't even write one thing.
Yeah.
And then ever since hearing that, it's kind of always just been like in my mind. I'm like, that's why I've like now tried to like experience different things, because it's like I want to have a long list. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, yeah, for sure. And sometimes it's just you need that prompt.
Yeah.
To really, really puts things in perspective, or to shift your perspective.
Yeah. So I guess that's the same thing as, you know, the gratitude journal. Being able to write for a year. So what is that? 3 times 352? So 6, 7.
365? Isn't it
365? Yeah, fuck. I'm cutting that out.
Half a month.
Yeah.
What even is time though? It's a social construct.
Yeah, that's true as well. But yeah.
Yeah, I can't even think. What is that? Like 9? Well, probably about 1,000 things.
Yeah, it'd be close to 1,000.
And when you think of that number, like, that's crazy. 1,000 things to be grateful for. But then when you put things in perspective, that is like a minute amount of things
100%.
for most of us to consider. Yeah, I've started doing it again recently. Like, I've just got a actually it's a really cool astrological diary, I suppose, / journal, because that's something I'm kind of starting to explore a bit more.
What's the story with astronomy? Because that's something that I've never paid attention to.
Well, look, I can't share like a whole heap on that, because that's something I've only just started exploring myself. But this journal that I got, it breaks things down. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much there is to astronomy, far out, and it covers all these different things. It uses terms I've never heard of before, but then it also talks about, you know, on simpler terms like the moon cycles, when you've got your full moon, your new moon, and everything in between. When they fall into different signs, and then, you know, like your star / sun, your moon, and your rising sign, and like all these things. So I'm only just starting to explore all of that, so I can't really like delve deep into that with you, but I find it really interesting that we can potentially almost kind of like subconsciously, like without realizing, our body and our mind and our spirit can respond to the energy of I was going to say the solar system, but it's beyond that, but of the universe, of the stars, of, you know, the energy in the sky, the moon, all of that. Like, I mean, I feel so much now that everything on earth is connected, whether it's energetically, spiritually, physically, like there's a connection there, but then this takes it to a whole nother level. Like, this is beyond earth, and I find that really fascinating. So I've only just started exploring that. So don't ask me any like questions.
I don't know what to ask anyway. So. That's cool. Yeah,
but in that I've been getting back into writing 3 things I'm grateful for each day. It's just one of my few like daily habits that I'm trying to kind of incorporate. And it's
cool.
good. It's really
Talking about daily habits before we finish up, what's your day-to-day routine, if you do have one?
I have like a general day-to-day routine. So I guess generally I will wake up, and after I've gone to the bathroom, I have lately been incorporating a water ritual into my daily routine.
What's that like?
So that probably makes it sound like more like deep and like intense than it really is. It's basically just fully appreciating what water is, what it does for us. Like, we're made up of at least 70% water. I think our brain is in itself almost 70% water. Like, there's such a deep connection there to water, and it's so important, especially clean water. And also on that note, like, acknowledging the water that I'm about to drink is water that I have access to, and unlimited access to, back on the gratitude thing, knowing that so many people don't have access to clean drinking or bathing water. So kind of bringing that all together and just fully appreciating water for what it is, because like when you think about it, like, how epic is water?
Yeah.
Again, talking about gratitude, the simple things that are just so important.
Yeah.
So bringing that, and I guess the easiest way to describe it is a water ritual. Like, I'll kind of think about all of that while holding my drink bottle, and I think about all the access points in my house that have free-flowing water, all the different water bodies around the world, and how they all end up somehow finding each other and connecting. And I think that is like magic right there, you know. And then I kind of set, at the start I set a different intention each day, but now I kind of have a weekly intention, so I bring that into it as well. So I feel that, and try and feel that intention, put it into the water.
What would be an example of an intention?
It can be something super simple, like, you know, my focus for this week is to find connection, and not just to nature, like connection through friendships, like deepening those, my connection to my food. So before I have a meal, kind of like stopping and being grateful and connecting to and feeling the food go through my body. Or another week it might be patience, you know, especially in a crazy time like now, like practicing patience and coming back to self, and peace and quiet and calm, and because that can be hard for me. I'm someone that's like, I'm naturally pretty stubborn, so that's also so intention doesn't have to be anything super complicated. It can be a one-word thing. So I put focus into that, and then I'll drink my water, and that's kind of that sets off my morning ritual, because obviously it's also hydration as well. So then the water, and then I'll do some stretches, and then I will, I put on I've got a few different kind of playlists that I'll put on, and I do some meditation. Generally I do a timed meditation, just like if I have stuff I need to get on with during the day, I don't get like sidetracked with it, so I just have a timed thing, so there's like a little bell that goes off, and do that. Sometimes I'll have a cold shower in the mornings. Like, I generally have cold showers anyway. I think I have a warm shower like maybe like once a fortnight.
It's too hard to start with a cold shower.
But when you get used to it,
it's so cold in the mornings. I was alright during summer, but but it's good. It's easy to start in summer, because you're like, all right, I can do a cold shower, and then as it gets a little bit colder, but breath work helps a lot with that. And in saying that, sometimes I'll do some breath work in the morning as well, and that really kind of boosts me and energizes me for the day. The cold shower, along with like breath work and then meditation, kind of setting my intention and prepping me for the day. And then lately, the last few weeks, I've been fasting for like 15 hours. So like, I'll have dinner, and then I won't eat again until lunch, but I'll have a fresh juice that I make every morning. And I feel like that's kind of like reset my like my metabolism, and just also because I'm a cereal snacker, so it's kind of like calmed that and helped me kind of appreciate the food that I am putting into my body, rather than just eating for the sake of eating. So that's kind of my general like morning routine. Sometimes I'll put music on and have a bit of a dance, or I might stand in front of the mirror naked and just like thank my body for what it does for me, and the fact that I have it, and appreciating every part of it, even the things that I used to see as flawed. I think that's really important, definitely,
because that's been a big part of my whole self-love journey. So it's really like I feel into it. I don't feel like, you know, if one morning I'm just not feeling like a super long meditation, or maybe I have slept in or whatever, and I'm rushing, and I mean, ideally you want to kind of incorporate all those things, but I don't beat myself up if I don't do something. You know, like, it's okay. And I think that's what's important, is that there's a lot of pressure to kind of have these set routines. And I think it's kind of finding that balance though, between sticking to that and staying accountable, because you know that all of those things are beneficial, but also being really kind to yourself if you just don't do one of those things and not beating yourself up over it. Like, 100%. It's okay. So that's kind of delved a lot into a very simple question, but yeah, there's a few things I
really like this one. I think there was a lot to soak in, which is cool.
There's a lot.
Yeah. But
so easy to get sidetracked.
100%.
Oh, look at that water. See?
Beautiful.
Sidetracked water. But guys, if you could see the sun, it's a beautiful day today. The sun is just like glowing on the water. Water again. How amazing is water?
How much water do you drink a day?
Okay, so that's something I really need to improve. So I appreciate water and I love water, but I forget to drink enough. So at the moment I drink maybe like 2.5, possibly 3, but
liters.
Yeah, maybe
and that's
like
not enough.
2. Well,
wow, I thought you were gonna say like 1 or half a liter.
It used to be that, and sometimes I would forget. It'd be like 1.5, but now like I've got a few different drink bottles. So the one in the morning for my little ritual that I do is a half liter. So that's what I have. I make sure I have all of that first thing in the morning. My juice is like maybe like 400 mils, like just under half a liter, 300-400 mils. And then I've got like a bigger bottle that's like it's an American
measurement
quantities, so it's like equals like 1.13 liters or something. So I try and have at least 1.5 of those on top of everything else, but then I get a lot of water through a lot of foods that I eat as well.
So what's your ideal intake of water?
Guys, I'm not a professional with this, so if anyone's listening, they're like, I'm taking notes.
But no, you say you're not drinking enough.
Yeah,
so
I feel like enough? For me, like I'm going to use an American term here, but like a gallon, which is about 4 liters. I think that's pretty good, but also, you know, everyone's going to be different, and I feel like this is just based on how I feel, and I know that I can be drinking more. You know, like it's not like I'm you know, stuffing myself, because you can over drink water, and that in itself is also really dangerous, but it's not like I'm drinking just like forcing it down to the point of like not feeling good or feeling bloated or constantly needing to pee or anything like that.
Your body tell you.
Yeah, and if that's what your body is telling you, like don't keep drinking more water, listen to your body. But that can be a hard thing. That's also something that I've learnt to tap into a lot more, because I never used to listen to my body. But important to do that. Tap into that, guys.
Is there anything else you want to add? Because we're going to run out of battery soon.
Oh no, that's it. I think I totally got sidetracked with listening to your questions.
I think it was great.
No, that's it. But hopefully you guys have got something out of this, and you feel like after this, maybe if anyone listens to this, hopefully people will listen,
and you will have people that hit you up, don't worry.
After you listen to this, and then we can't do it now because you're driving, but by the time we stop, get out into nature, guys, and you know, whether it's at the beach or whether it's barefoot as well, that's super important to ground you, and go hug a tree. Like, go do it. Be a fool, like if someone's seeing you hug a tree. But like something I was listening to from Ram Dass, who's this spiritual teacher, he was saying like when you hug a tree, you're hugging yourself. You know, when you see an ocean, when you see a body of water, you see yourself. And I was like, you know? So do that, guys, and just appreciate the beauty around us, because there's so much natural beauty, and it's pretty damn epic.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
But that's it.
Alright, for now, well, thank you for coming on. I hope everyone you know, like listen to the whole podcast, but I hope there's at least one thing in there that you guys can take and I guess apply to your own life. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Please share any feedback. I'm sure Em would be much appreciated.
Yes, please do.
Would appreciate it. But yeah, so like, I hate this part because I'm just like, I don't really care, but like, share,
I hope you don't cut that bit out.
No, I won't cut it out. But
he hates this part, but it's important to do it.
Like, share, subscribe, show some love. If anyone wants to talk to Em and you forgot what her Instagram handle was, hit me up.
It's an
put
easy
your
one
name
to
forward. But yeah, thanks for listening. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Have a beautiful day.
Bye.